Welcome to Search for Signs. My name is Gary Willing. If this information interests you, please press the like and subscribe button and press the bell for notifications. I said in a previous video that the idea of people coming from outer space to our planet via ships or whatever is becoming more and more of a mainstream idea. And I really do believe that because, if you were to just go back 20 or 30 years ago or more, maybe 40 years ago or so, I'm not that old, but, the conversations that you would have with people if you said that you saw a UFO or even if you believed in UFOs would be totally different than it is today. You can actually, and I've done this before, I've actually been at work and talked with some of my coworkers about the fact that I believe in UFOs, and they already thought I was crazy to begin with. But it didn't make me sound even more nuts. You know what I mean? So, it's becoming more of a mainstream idea is my point about the idea of these space brothers. Now, of course, everybody has their own opinion about where they come from, why they're here, and who's occupying those spaceships and so forth. I mean, I get it. Everybody has their own belief that it's all separate and unrelated to what's going on with miracles around the world, like crosses of light or Maitreya coming on TV. They all see it as just totally separate and unrelated, when in actuality it's all a part of the same plan. And the other thing about who and what they are and what their intentions are, I tend to agree with what Benjamin Creme and George Adamski said about them, because I really do believe that those two gentlemen had a lot of contacts with these space brothers, and both of them had very similar views and information about these space brothers. And they both said that they're here to help. They said that they look like us. They don't look any different than us. They could walk into a mall or a shop or a restaurant and nobody would know, wouldn't think anything of it, because they look just like us. And that they're all here to help us, and they've always been here to help us. And now to say that, and I say that to say that I don't necessarily believe that every single person that lives on another planet the other thing too, I almost forgot, that they both said that they're not coming from another dimension or another solar system, even they're coming from the closest planets to Earth. For example, Venus or Jupiter, Mars, Saturn maybe. And that they're always here to help us. Now, I don't necessarily think, and this is what I was going to say before I had to go back and reiterate that point, is I don't think that if you were to go to every planet in our solar system, you're going to find every single person to be totally altruistic. That there are planets are like people. They have different stages of evolution. They're all working through their own whatever they're working through. Some planets like Venus are very, very advanced, where you wouldn't find, quote unquote, an average humanity, consciousness. You would find people that are like gods, really, and the full potential of what we are all eventually going to become. Other planets like Mars, it's mixed. You got some people that are very much like the people, and probably the same level as the Venetians, but you also have some that are kind of like us, and maybe even like our lesser humanity almost, where they're not very evolved and advanced at all. But those people aren't able to, they don't have a ticket to ride on those ships like the other ones do. Just like with us. I mean, if you look at the people on Earth, right? The real reason why we can't get off the planet the way that they can is because we aren't being given that technology yet, because we haven't given up the intention of war yet. And once we do, and a certain amount of time has passed where we've lived peacefully and we can show these masters that we have given up war, these space brothers and the masters are going to give us the same technology that they have, the technology of light that allows them to travel from one part of the planet to the other in a matter of seconds or minutes, and then eventually be able to travel outside of our planet to other planets and so forth, just as they do. But we have to be a peaceful people before we can do that. So, but I do think, and I do go along with what Benjamin Creme and George Adamski said, that the people coming from these other planets that are riding these spaceships are nothing but altruistic and beneficial people that are here to help us. They're spiritual warriors. They're on a spiritual mission, actually, serving humanity. And they do that as a form of service for them, for us. And they're doing it, I think one of the reasons why people aren't as frightened about the idea, or it's not as crazy a notion as an idea that UFOs actually exist, is because these these space brothers in these UFOs have been working tirelessly for decades to help wake us up to the fact that they do exist. Also, I think part of the reason why we're still able to breathe the air that we can breathe, is because these space brothers have been helping to clean up the atmosphere within karmic limits over the years, because we've been polluting the environment at such an alarming rate that it would be probably almost unlivable to live in this planet if it wasn't for the help of these space brothers. So they're all here to help us. And the proof really that they're harmless is time itself, that nothing's happened over the length of time that we've started seeing them in our skies. Nothing's happened. That's really the proof that they're here to help us. The other thing too is, you might not see it as the same event, but they're here at this time because the masters are coming out into the world along with Maitreya, and the masters are coming out into the world to help us save our planet and get us to the next level. So they're all here to help us, and they're not going anywhere. They're going to be here for long into the future, and we'll have more and more contact with them as time goes on. Now, the other thing is, I wanted to say about these space brothers is that there's a lot of different ways that they come to our planet. One, they might be a master from another planet, like Sai Baba, or I'm trying to think some of the other masters. It doesn't really matter, but Sai Baba is a good example. He was not from our planet. He came from another planet, lived for a time, and will be back again. Other people, like most notably Abraham Lincoln, Leonardo da Vinci, and William Shakespeare, were from other planets. They were from other solar systems, but they were from other planets. And they came here, I don't know how many lifetimes they lived here, but they came here for a time, lived a few lifetimes, did their service, and now they're off as masters doing other stuff. Not Abraham Lincoln, but the other two are already masters, excuse me. And then, of course, the other way that they get here is with their spaceships, and we see them in the skies all the time, and you see videos of them on YouTube or on TV or whatever like that, right? And then, of course, they come here and lower their vibration, and we're able to see them, and they look like normal people, and they can walk into a building or a crowded room or whatever, and you wouldn't even know who they were, being anything but one of us, just like one of the masters, would be. But they are from another planet. And people from outer space have been helping humanity since humanity started millions and millions of years ago, when we weren't able to even look after ourselves, really. And we're still not able to really look after ourselves. We still need help, right? But they've been guiding us and helping us at every turn. And anytime there's a crisis that almost led to the ending of life on the planet, they've helped us divert that, so to speak. And one that I found very interesting was Benjamin Creme was talking about during the Cuban Missile Crisis, that there were several people from outer space that were living as normal people, but working in Washington, D.C. as advisors to Kennedy, and helped to divert that crisis. I mean, it wasn't just them, but it was a lot of effort from a lot of people, but they actually were key players in it from behind the scenes, helping Kennedy make the right decisions to keep us from going off that cliff. And I'm sure there was some on the Russian side, right? In fact, actually, according to Benjamin Creme, the speech that Kennedy gave not long after the Cuban Missile Crisis, where he said, we all love our children, we all breathe the same air, and so forth. And you've probably heard the speech, which really was a speech about oneness. It was probably one of the few times that a president of the United States actually went before the cameras talking about us being a one humanity, right? Which is the truth, right? Kennedy was a very advanced disciple in his own right. But that speech, according to Benjamin Creme, actually came from one of the Space Brothers that were working in his cabinet, or not in his cabinet, but working as advisors in the White House some kind of way, and gave him that speech, and he kind of edited a little bit, but those were some parts that he remembered that they actually told him. And they really helped to heal the divide between the Russians and the United States at the time. But they are always, always here helping us. And they're in the skies, they're in the trenches with us, and they're not going anywhere, just like the masters aren't going anywhere. It's only going to be more and more open as time goes on. As people start to accept the idea that they exist more and more. Same thing with the masters. The more that they are able to give their teachings, and eventually they'll give the technology that they have that has allowed them to do what they can do. They're going to eventually give it to us, and then we'll be able to do the same thing that they can do. So we'll be helping planets too, probably in the future. But, and as always, take action. Help SOP save our planet. Thanks for listening, and we look forward to talking to you again in future videos. Have a great day.